Hi, welcome to the CrafteeManatee. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this ghost coaster. This ghost coaster is part of my 2024 Crochetaween pattern collection here on my channel, where during the month of October I will be posting 13 different Halloween inspired crochet patterns, so make sure to check out that playlist for more Halloween crochet patterns. In that collection I also have a pumpkin and a cauldron coaster, and these all three go very well together in a set, and they're all worked basically the same in the center, and then it's whenever we get to the last outer rows that things start to look different. So if these aren't up already, they will be very soon, so make sure to look at that playlist and check out these patterns as well. The Ghost Coaster is also available as a free written pattern over on Ribblr, so feel free to check that out if you would prefer to follow along to a written pattern instead. But let's go ahead and get started crocheting our Ghost Coaster. Here are the materials that you're going to need to crochet this coaster. First, we're going to need about 13 grams of worsted weight yarn in whatever color you want the body to be. I used an off-white for this ghost, but I'm going to use blue today just so that it shows up a little bit better on camera. And we'll also need a very small amount of black yarn to embroider on the eyes at the very end. We'll be using a 5mm crochet hook or the letter H. And finally, we will need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle for cutting off yarn tails and weaving them in at the end. To get started crocheting our ghost coaster, we are going to use the main color, so whatever color you choose to use for the main part of your ghost, and we're going to make a magic ring and make 6 single crochet stitches into that ring. And now we can pull that yarn tail tight to close up the magic ring and slip stitch into the first stitch that we made. For the next round, we are going to make a puff stitch round. So we are going to make a puff stitch and a single crochet stitch all in the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that 5 more times around for a total of 12 stitches in this round. So to work a puff stitch, we are going to yarn over and insert our hook into the stitch and pull up a loop. And we're going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And now we have all of these loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through them all. And then we are going to work a single crochet stitch back into the same stitch that we worked our first puff stitch into. And we are going to repeat that in the next 5 stitches as well. So I will meet you back here after you have worked 5 more puff stitches with a single crochet stitch in the same stitch. For the next round, we are going to chain 1 and then skip 1 stitch, and then work 2 double crochet stitches both in the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that 5 more times for a total of 18 stitches in this round. So we'll go ahead and chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and then work 2 double crochet stitches both in the following stitch. And now we are going to repeat that step 5 more times around, and I will meet you back here once we have 6 of these chain spaces completed. Once we have finished that round, we will be left with 6 of these little chain spaces all the way around, and we're going to move on to the next round. For this round, we are going to single crochet 2 and then increase, and we'll repeat that 5 more times for a total of 24 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2, and some of those crochet stitches are going to be through the chain, so you can kind of just work through the chain and single crochet 1 and 2, and then increase. And we're going to repeat that 5 more times, and I'll meet you back here once we have finished those. And now we are going to move on to our second round of puff stitches. So for this round, we are going to work 3 puff stitches and then work 1 puff stitch and 1 single crochet stitch, both in the next stitch. So that's going to bring our stitch count up to 30 at the end of this round. So we're going to go ahead and work 3 puff stitches. So for a reminder of the puff stitch, we're going to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and do that 3 times. And then yarn over and pull through all of the loops on our hook. And so now we are going to do a puff stitch in the next 2 stitches because we did the 1. So 3 puff stitches. And now we are going to work another puff stitch, and we are going to make a single crochet stitch in this same stitch once we finish this puff stitch. So we have a puff stitch and a single crochet stitch all in the same stitch. So go ahead and continue that all the way around. You're going to do what we just did 5 more times, and I'll meet you back here once we have our second round of puff stitches completed. Alright, I am back with our second round of puff stitches all completed, and now we are going to work a second round of these chain space stitches. So for this round, it's kind of a long repeat, but we are going to chain 1 and then skip 1 stitch and work 2 double crochets, and then we're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and work 2 double crochet stitches in the same stitch. And we're going to repeat that 5 more times around for a total of 36 stitches. So I'll go ahead and work that first repeat with you here, and then you can pause the video to work the rest or rewind and watch the steps over again to work along with me. So we are going to chain 1 and skip 1 stitch, and we're going to work 2 double crochet stitches. And now we are going to chain 1 again and work 2 double crochet stitches, but this time they will be in the same stitch. So go ahead and continue that all the way around. You're going to repeat what we just did 5 more times, and I will meet you back here once you're done. Alright, I am back with that round all complete, and now we have the basic circle pattern done, and we're going to start turning it into this ghost shape. So we're going to need to work these shell stitches all the way around, and that's going to lead us down into working the bottom of the ghost. So let's go ahead and start working on that. For this round, we are going to be working in the chain spaces of the previous round, and we're going to work 5 half double crochet stitches into the chain space, and then slip stitch in the next stitch and skip 1 stitch. And we're going to repeat that 7 more times around. So we're not going to go all the way around the top and all the way around. We're just going to be working along the top. So we're going to make these 8 shell stitches, and then we will move on to our next step. So we will work a half double crochet stitch, which is yarning over. We'll insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3, and that is 1 half double crochet stitch completed. And we're going to work 5 of those in this 1 chain space. And then we are going to slip stitch to the next stitch and then skip one stitch, and we're going to work into the chain space again. So I will meet you back here once we have finished 8 of these shell stitches. Once we have all 8 of those shell stitches worked, now we are going to double crochet 11. So we're going to continue along this unworked part, and we're going to just double crochet 11. And that will bring us back to where we started working the shell stitches. So now we are going to stop working in rounds, and we're going to start working in rows to make the bottom part of the ghost. So now we are going to chain 2 and turn our work, and we're going to double crochet 11. And now we are going to chain 2 and turn our work again. And again, we are going to just work 1 double crochet stitch all the way across. So that is double crocheting 11. And now we are going to chain 2 and turn our work. And we are going to start working some more chain space stitches. So we are going to double crochet 2. And now we are going to chain 1 and skip 1 stitch. And we're going to do that 2 more times. So we are going to double crochet and double crochet again. Chain 1 and skip 1 stitch and work 2 double crochet stitches. Chain 1 and skip 1, and then we're going to work 2 double crochet stitches in these last 2 stitches here. And now we are going to chain 2 and turn our work, and we're going to work shell stitches in these chain spaces just like we did around the top. So we are going to work 5 half double crochet stitches into this chain space. And then slip stitch into the next stitch and skip 1 stitch, and we're going to do that same thing 2 more times. So we have 5 half double crochet stitches and slip stitch and skip a stitch, and then 5 half double crochet stitches in this final chain 1 space. And slip stitch. And now we can fasten off our yarn. And now we have the main part of our ghost coaster all completed. So now I'm going to go ahead and tuck in these yarn tails. So I'll show you how I like to do that. We're going to thread our yarn through our needle. And along the back side, I am just going to insert my needle through some of these puff stitches. So it will be hidden from the front. You won't be able to see where that needle comes through. I'm going to pull through and then skip 1 so it doesn't pull out and go through the opposite direction. And we're going to do that 1 more time, just to make sure it's very secure. I find that going in 3 different directions makes sure that the yarn tail doesn't come out in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that yarn tail off. And now you can repeat that for this second yarn tail down here. And then we're going to embroider on the eyes and we'll be done. To embroider on the eyes, we are just going to take a small amount of black yarn and thread it through our needle. And we are going to start embroidering on the eyes. So we can use this finished ghost coaster as a template for what we're going to do. So you can see that we worked just a little, it's almost like a triangle here. I'm going to insert my yarn tail through the back and pop it up right about there and pull through. You don't want to pull that yarn tail all the way through. You just want it to have a little bit of room here in the back, and we'll tuck that in at the end. And we're going to make a stitch down and loop back up. So we are going to just make one loop just like that. And we're going to do the same thing looping around. And then we are going to go into one stitch over to the right about there. And we'll make a couple loops around right there. And then I'm going to go back down where we started this original up and down area and make a loop and pop out my needle right where it is over here to this side. It's a little hard to explain how to embroider on the eyes, but I will do my best to try to explain how we are doing it. So now we are going to take that yarn and attach it back down into that bottom point, and that is completing our triangle here. So we're going to make a couple of loops right here. And as you can see, we have embroidered on this little kind of triangular shaped eye that matches pretty closely to this eye over here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn tail. I want to make sure to leave a pretty long yarn tail for tucking in at the end. And then we're going to do the same thing over to this other eye. So we're going to insert it right about there. We want to go up one just to line it up with the one we've already made. Again, pull through. And again, line it up. I'm going to trace it over here and we'll insert right about there. Make a couple of loops in this first side of our triangle. And now we'll stitch one stitch over to get the top of our triangle. Make a couple of loops there. Now we'll come back down that first side and complete the triangle by attaching these two ends together. Make a couple of loops and then pop that out in the back just like we did for the other ones and cut off the yarn. And now we need to secure these yarn tails along the back. I like to just tie a knot just to make sure that those are attached together. Do the same thing over on this side. And now I'm going to attach both of these yarn tails, thread those through the needle. You can choose to just do one at a time, but I like to thread both yarn tails through just so that we only have to sew one time. So I'm going to tuck that behind the eye, and we're going to do a pretty similar thing to what we did whenever we attached those other yarn tails. We're going to just go in a few different directions here and make sure that it is attached. As you can see, I've lost that other yarn tail, so we'll just thread that back through. We'll start working with just one yarn tail and thread that in a couple of different directions. Do the same thing to the other yarn tail. And then we can cut those off. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over here to the other eye, and I'll meet you back here once we're done. And here is our finished ghost coaster. I hope you enjoyed today's video learning how to crochet your own ghost coaster. If you did, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more crochet patterns and tutorials like this one. You can also check out my 2024 Crochetaween playlist where you can find more Halloween inspired crochet patterns. If you do decide to crochet your own ghost coaster, I would love to see it. You can create a project page over on Ribblr or tag me on Instagram at the CrafteeManatee. You can also find all of my other patterns on Ribblr, Ravelry, or Etsy. Thanks for watching. Bye.